Each year, the staff have a day away together. It usually happens in January. And this year when we met, someone had quite an unexpected picture which has proved to be incredibly useful to us. Because we have been wondering how we can remain a flat authority structure and yet be coordinated. And some of you will have identified the periods when we've lacked communication. The picture is based around a carpet with squares. The outer edge is continuous. That is the people outside the church who we relate to, the diocese, other churches and church organisations, including missionaries, the community of Norwich that uses the cafe on a daily basis, and agencies who support the work we do, and we signpost to them. After considering this over several months, including the staff working on it and the Standing Committee and the PCC, I now have this diagram of how we hope to operate in this coming year for you to look at. It is complicated. There are 36 squares. It's because we do a lot. The squares I have added in chronological order, starting from the year dot, when the first building was built, and then the first clergy were appointed, and the first services happened. So these are added until in 1919, when the PCC is established. There is then a break in the level of change. But you will see in these first 10 that giving was part of St. Stephen's from the very beginning of its existence. In fact, soon after it was first built, the money from St. Stephen's helped to clothe monks in the local monasteries. So the building and the governance having been established, there's a break until 1980 when the cafe was started. There is a sheet with all the numbers of the different squares so that you can look at it in detail if you want to at a later stage. From square 11 to square 15, the cafe, baking, safeguarding, small groups and courses were all established. And then there's another break, and in 2009 we were out for 2.5 years. So nothing much changed. In fact, some of the things didn't happen. In fact, quite a lot of those things didn't happen during that time. But when we came back, things changed a lot. We had administrator and prayer triplets, and health in safety improved, and we had an enormous book. And then we appointed Adam as young adults worker. And the Standing Committee was needed because there was so much work going through the PCC that we needed to have a smaller group that considered things between PCCs. And then in 2014, we appointed a paid manager for the cafe. And of course later, assistant managers. But that meant that all our food hygiene had to go to a different level. We opened for longer hours. We needed more volunteers. And so the numbers of volunteers increased enormously. And if you have volunteers, then you need to have training. Then we appointed children and families worker, Naomi. And several people went forward for ordination. Some stayed at St. Stephen's, like Matthew, who was ordained and then was curate. And recently we've had Callum as part of the Ministry Experience Student project. Then the director directors in 2016 approached us, and we spent a whole year talking with them. And eventually in January 2017, the chapel was opened with another cafe. Alongside that, Little Fellows was established, a choir was started in the chapel, and so many different activities have now continued there. Naomi was involved with local holiday clubs. Then the Hope into Action House was bought. An investor paid for that, but we have the responsibility of interacting and caring for the people who live there. And when Alex came, he started planning events. That was quite new. So this August we will have the Bible Comes to Life, and then next year in 2020 we will be celebrating the 600th anniversary of Richard of Caister, who was a vicar here in 1400s. We need to appoint a bookkeeper because so much was being done in the cafe and our volunteer was not able to give the huge amount of time that he'd given before. Claire moved from administration into being community worker. And lastly, you may or may not know that Alex and I are writing 2 books with Biddy's help based on the development of St. Stephen's. If you look at this diagram, on one side, the side that connects with the community, are the things that people see. The church building, the chapel. Some people see the giving, services, courses, chapel activities, Little Fellows, community worker and cafe. But as you move further to the other side, you see many people in the next column, and then you see the things that most people don't see: the health and safety, the maintenance, the PCC, the triplets, the holiday clubs, training, food hygiene, and lastly, the last column is the things that are least seen: the baking, the Hope into Action House, the events planning, the book, the pastoral care, the standing committee, the bookkeeping, the directors, and the archives. What is most important about this whole activity of drawing this carpet is not 36 squares. It is the things that connect them. You will see that it's represented in the brown. It connects everything. We have discerned that this is prayer and communication. And during this coming year, our aim is to work most at the connections between all these activities. I hope you find this useful and you will be able to take away sheets that explain it and have more time to look at it, and do ask any questions.